Life is so fragile, and we're constantly reminded just how fragile life can be, especially when we or a loved one is told we have cancer. Cancer survivor myself, I can tell you, we still feel very alone in this journey.
There's a study that's been showing that patients who are socially isolated have a worse prognosis, have a worse outcome than patients who are socially interconnected.
Buddies for Life is a non-profit cancer support group for those whose life has been impacted by cancer. We'll match you with the perfect buddy. Humor, hope, heart, and hugs.
Humor, hope, heart, hugs, and a whole lot of love.
We're offering you a free membership, so please sign up today. Share this with your friends and family, and support this community in every way you can. No one should face cancer alone.
I am a chemo buddy for life.
We are a buddies network.
No one does cancer alone.
Be a buddy.
And we are all here for you as a community of love.
We are chemo buddies for life.
And if you've heard 3 words, you have cancer, for yourself or someone else, you belong with us at Chemo Buddies for Life.
Healing through connections.
Welcome. If you're watching right now under whatever social media, I'm in a lot of different platforms here. My LinkedIn, Celebrate You Live. Hello, everybody there. Just everywhere. My name is Barbara J. Beckley, and I am I got a lot of titles, but for today, let's just say I'm here to coordinate with some wonderful queens. A wonderful panel called the Diamond Perspective Panel Live. We come on every first Thursday of the month. We missed last month because you know what? We want to give reverence to Holy Week that week. And I decided that's what you can do when you have a bunch of queens. We all just come together and say, you know what? Let's just all spiritually, however people take that Holy Week and just set aside that time. So that's what we did. But we're back. We're back today. We're back May. And guess what the month of May is? The month of May is understanding and looking at mental health. I'm telling you, everybody, I love this topic because too many people, and now it's coming to fruition that people are really understanding mental health is real. It is real. It is very important to understand it. It's very important to understand what people deal with. All of us have in certain areas of our life, we have to deal with it. So you're not out of that frame. So I always tell people that it's not something to put to the side. You know, people feel like if it's not a physical thing they can't see, then they feel like, oh, okay, that's just something you just need to go over here and do that. No, mental health is very important. With a lot of things going on in today's world, I mean, you can see it. And I pulled up some very good information that will just give you just a little idea. So when the panel comes on, the Queens, and we're going to discuss that, they said, according to the World Health Organization, WHO, around 1 in 4 people globally will experience a mental disorder at some point in their lives. Mental disorders can include conditions such as depression, anxiety, stress, bipolar disorder, and you go as far as schizophrenia, eating disorder. So see, it's a big array, which a lot of people don't think that. They don't think like that, but that's included. Now, this is something that was said too. They're talking about the suicide rate. Suicide is a tragic outcome of many mental health issues. According to WHO again, suicide is the second leading cause of death in the world among 15 to 29-year-olds. They said in 2019, global suicide rate was 9.0 per 100,000 population, and an estimated of 703,000 people died by suicide worldwide. Come on now. That is serious. So yes, mental health is serious. And we want to make sure in the month of May and even beyond the month of May, okay, that we need to really be looking, doing check-ins, and we're going to talk a little bit about how we handle our mental health, how we handle, how to, other people and see how check-ins and stuff like that. I'm always doing more check-ins now with people. So many check-ins. So I don't want to give up everything, but I want to bring the Queens on. But I wanted to just give you that foundation of what we're going to talk about tonight, because this is something that I want people to understand how important it is to say that, okay, yes, we need to look at this a little bit more closely and not just put it to the side. So with that, before I bring on our Queens, I always got to give our sponsors some love. So let's give the sponsors a little love, and then we'll be right back.
Today, over 1 billion children in the world live in poverty. At Help Heal Humanity, our goal is to connect children in need with people like you who want to make a difference. Our student sponsorship program helps provide children with the necessities for a healthy and successful start to life. When you sponsor a student, you're not only giving them the gift of education, you're giving them the best chance for a brighter future. 100% of your donation supports the tuition fees, uniforms, textbook, and school supplies needed to thrive in a safe and healthy learning environment. Sponsor a student now and be the catalyst for their brighter future.
Yes, our Queens. Okay, so I want to do some housekeeping. So if you're not speaking, you need to put yourself on board because I hear a lot of feedback. And we try to make sure people really hear what we have to say today.
You're excellent, Barb.
It's me. Let me double check. Okay, hello. Okay, yeah, it stopped. It was somebody else because I don't hear it anymore, and I muted everybody. So with that, I want to first of all introduce these wonderful queens before we jump into this topic. And I'm just going to start where I see. We want to get to know who they are real quickly, like 30 seconds. And then at the end, we will wrap up and make sure you get their contact information. So we'll start with the person I see first. I'll start with Dawn.
Hello.
Hi, Dawn.
It's lovely to see you.
Yes, you too.
You just want 30 seconds about me?
Just introduce yourself, and then
Okay.
we'll get more into it at the end.
Okay. My name is Dawn Livingston. I'm an ascension coach and an energy healer. I am not from around these parts. I'm from Scotland, but I live in Texas now. So very nice to meet you all. Do you need anything else just now?
Not yet, but we will get your how they can contact you at the end. But thank you.
Sure.
I think this is your first time coming on the show, and
It is
wonderful to see another queen that comes on to give so much expertise that you have. So I thank you for being on the show, and I know that all the other queens appreciate you being on. So let's go
and thank you for having me.
No problem. Let's go to next, Renee.
Well, hi everybody. How are all you queens doing today, and our audience? My name is Renee, and I am a realtor. I do residential and commercial for 35 years. I also give a living trust for anybody that buys and sells with me. And what else? I can't think of anything else at the moment, but let me tell you, I'd love to help you and love to serve you. So let me know what I can do to help you. Anybody out there that needs any tips or tricks with real estate, I've written 6 books. I have 6 different ones to offer for buyer, seller, and commercial, and so on. So I give you back the mic, Barbara. Thank you.
It's wonderful, Renee, extraordinaire. So next we will have Miss Barbara, the other Barbara.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm Barbara Ellison. I'm with the Wellness Playroom. I'm on a mission to make happiness the norm rather than the exception. So because I believe that each and every one of us deserves to lead a happy, healthy, financially free, abundant life. So I work with baby boomers and Gen Xers who want that. So that's what I do and help them get it. And so it's fun to help them make a difference.
Yes, lady, and all the time you like me and you, the BBs. Just
We're
a
the
quick
BBs.
plug every Tuesday morning. But love you being here of the Diamond Perspective panel. And Mrs. America Supermom, you're next.
Well, thank you so much for having me again, Barbara. It's a blessing to be here with these lovely ladies. I am America's Supermom, also known as Lachelle Adkins. I'm the mother of 15 children. 10 still live at home. I'm a vitality coach that helps people transform chaos. I know a lot about chaos with 10 kids under one roof still. So I help them transform it to clarity and confidence with a smile. And I'm happy to be here today.
And I'm happy that you are here. I know this is a subject. I mean, we all know parts of the subject about mental health, but I know you, Queen America Supermom, this is like your journey. This is one of your many lanes that you do as an expertise. And I know this is something that you really hone on to. And I really appreciate you doing that because, like I said earlier, people really need to grab a hold of this more and more. I mean, we're seeing things daily on a daily basis. I mean, I'm seeing it on an hourly basis. I mean, just shootings alone. I mean, there's been some that happened just this week. And I know some people close to me that was included in that. And, you got to look at that whole thing. So thank you for coming on. And, I always start off with a quote. So let me show my little quote here, and then we'll get right into just digging deep into this particular topic once I get my screen together. Technology loves me. And there we go. So I made it real simple today. Real simple. There is no health without mental health. There is no health without mental health. Your mind, dealing with that brain up there, your mind, is all that just to kind of just communicate with everything else that's going on with you. So when you think about it, if you don't have your mental capacity, your mind frame, the mindset, whatever you want to call it, then everything else can gets kind of scattery. So I love this was straightforward to the point. I'm going to stop sharing the screen because I want people to see us and see the queens when we're talking. So one thing I want to just say, like I said, this particular topic, I wanted to talk about in your world, how do you see mental health is? And then we'll talk a little bit about that. And then the other part of it, what type of tips or things that you see that either helps you and or other individuals that you've seen. Just like I mentioned earlier about one tip that I gave myself and the others is doing check-ins on a consistent basis. Not just, okay, I did a check-in this week, okay, that checked me, and then I might not check into 3 or 4 months later. No. Check-ins should be going all the time. So let's first start out by talking about, in a sense, in this world of the mental health, how it's been from down here to now it's up here on the rise. So anybody want to start and give their ideas on that? Okay, Miss Barbara.
Yeah. For myself, one of the things that so much is happening is that now some of the statistics, can't talk. Some of the statistics that are coming out is that 1 out of every 6 is now experiencing some kind of brain fog or memory loss. And it is just becoming more and more and more prevalent. And the rate of like Alzheimer's and dementia is increasing. Well, that's part of mental, that's part of mental health, because it changes how we think about ourselves when we can't remember. And that's one of the things that I have dealt with in my family, 5 generations worth. But now it is so exciting that some of those things are being able to be reversed, and the new science and the new technology that's coming out. So in many ways, it's getting really bad, but in some ways it's like, oh, wow, we are going to be able to make a difference in it. So it's heartbreaking and yet exciting. So that's where I'm at.
Anybody else want to add? Thank you, Barbara, for sharing that. Renee?
Where I see a lot of the mental health issues are a couple places. One would be children. I have a girlfriend that's an elementary school teacher, and during COVID, like she works in Compton, and it's not it's more of a low income area maybe, and there's a lot of her kids that live in maybe 15 people in 1 or 2 bedroom apartments, and parents are in prison, or they're drug have been doing drugs and things, and there's just the kids wouldn't even show up on the screen to be in their classes during COVID, when they had to do it from their home. Or if they were, they'd have family members that were yelling at them to go do this, go do that, or screaming at them with horrible language. But now they're really seeing the after effects from COVID, and the statistics from that is just heartbreaking. Most of these kids are behind 2 or 3 years, and as they've gotten older and they're being bullied by others that didn't have that same problem. It's just that, from that perspective for the kids, to me, it's just heartbreaking what it has done, in the last couple of years. And then there's a lot of adults we see. I mean, I know a lot of people that have been so disturbed by all that's going on in the world, because it's a constant barrage. Every day it's something else. And then there's, they're talking about nukes and dropping, it's whatever it is, it's the culmination of all these different things that has really affected the mental health of many people nowadays. And it's too much information almost, We want everything, we want instant gratification with all the information, everything we need to know right now. But getting barraged with all that can also be a problem. And you asked, I don't know, are we supposed to speak about it now, what we do, or we just let everybody talk about it first?
We'll talk about it first.
Okay. Well, that's really that. Those are just some of the areas that I see it's very, very prevalent in today's world. So it's definitely very sad. But back to you, Barbara.
Yes, thank you, Queen Renee, for bringing that up. There's, it's almost like an overload. It's like an overload because, first of all, you can get so much information from everywhere, from CNN to on your phone, to iPods, to everything. Everybody's talking about everything, and things are going on, and you don't know what's real and what's not real. So, people, if they already have some issues of just feeling certain ways, it's just going to bring it out more. So yeah, it's a lot, and we have to figure out how to tackle that, which we're going to talk about, like I said, the second round, about how we feel like we handle it, or we tell others to handle it. So anybody else want to kind of talk a little bit about the mental health, the whole gamma of it? Dawn?
Yeah, Renee mentioned COVID, so I think I just want to add an extra couple of things on to that. I mean, over these 2.5, 3 years, we were all isolated. We couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't see anybody, and I think it took a toll on the adults, but more so on the children. I think they couldn't get outside to play. They couldn't go to school and see their friends, and I think that really impacts people's mental health. It increases depression and like, I can't remember who said, but the eating disorders. Because if you've got nothing else to do, I mean, hands up, I'm guilty of that myself. But yeah, and also coupled with that, the news that was constantly on. Like Renee said, you're constantly getting barraged, and I think the negativity that's going on in the news it's really all negative. There's hardly anything that's good that's out there just now, which is so sad. But if you keep watching and listening to negative things, what you mentally digest is just as bad as what you're eating, what you physically digest. You've got to be very careful as to how it affects your mental well-being.
Definitely. I thought I was on mute. Usually I'm on mute. Definitely, Dawn. Thank you so much for sharing that. Like you said, the whole COVID era brought up, I think, even with COVID, I think it brought up even more of the mental health awareness than ever before. Because, like you said, dealing with the children, because they're not used to be staying and stuck in one spot. And then you got us as adults have to make sure they're okay, and then we have to be okay. And then you have to know, okay, what kind of people started learning the relationship they had with couples and friends and everything else, because now you're stuck in the house with them. And
but also parents as well. They couldn't go to work. The kids couldn't go to school, so they had to work out how to work from home and how to teach their kids too. I mean, parents were very, very overwhelmed. And that's yeah.
And I feel for the parents. I was just going to say, I'm going to let America Super. I know she has some other items to add that, because some of my friends are parents and they were, teaching their children because they couldn't go to school. They're like, Barbara, half of this stuff they're teaching in school, I don't even know. I didn't know none of this when I was growing up. And now I got to teach them. I don't know what this is. So I felt for them. I was like, I don't know either. Don't even ask me. They said, this is a whole different kind of math. I mean, it just, that alone was stressing them out because they wanted to make sure their children was still getting the right, education as all this was going on. So that was a whole nother of a problem too. So yeah, like I said, this goes in all different areas. So America Superman, I want you to say your piece on it too.
Well, I think everybody said some wonderful things that are definitely important to think about, but for me, I had 7 kids that were doing e-learning, and my husband worked out of state during COVID, and having to adjust to working and managing their school days, it was very challenging. But I think, it goes back to the basics of simply being kind, because there are times that things change. We have natural disasters where, you got to evacuate, you have to go to different states in order to be safe. And, it goes back to kindness. A lot of people feel like they are alone. I'm just someone who overcame 13 years of depression. I was hospitalized 3 times, and a lot of it was feeling like you just couldn't trust other people. You didn't really kind of feel that connection to be open and vulnerable. And so if we go back to the basics sometimes of being kind, we can really find out what the true problem is and go back to that community and village way of dealing with things, because we have a lot of unrealistic expectations. As a parent now with my kids still in school post COVID, it takes that ability to communicate not just with your child, but with the teachers and the staff, and, understanding the adjustment that's necessary in order for them to kind of blend back into normalcy. There's so many things that, if you're not conscious of that, of being kind, it makes it a hard transition for everybody. And when it comes to kids, a lot of times they think in extremes. They can have a lot of hope, but then they can have a lot of despair. It's kind of like hard to walk that middle road. So being conscious of that, and with adults and with teachers, a lot of them afraid to be on camera. We're on camera, but there's a lot of teachers that, it's intimidating. You don't know if one of the parents is in the room watching, or in some cases, some parents were with their kids, making sure that they understood the lesson so they can explain it to them. So there's a lot of factors that if we simply just go back to being kind and non-judgmental, we can be in a better space to start opening up the roads of communication so that we can address some of the real problems instead of putting a band-aid on a lot of things.
Yes, yes. Now, I just want to just throw out some other statistics and information about mental health. Really interesting. I'm telling everybody, do Google University and YouTube University. You will find a lot of information. They're talking about on the economy burden part of it. They're saying mental health issues can also have a significant economy impact. According to World Economy Forum, the global cost of mental illness is expected to succeed 6 trillion by 2030. I mean, I just had to sit back and just pause for a moment on that. I'm like, OMG. And they said this includes direct costs of healthcare as well as indirect costs such as lost productivity and decreased quality of life. I mean, 2030, that's kind of, that's not too long for that. And that's a lot. And then this is what really got me, where they said, this was from WHO again, according to WHO. In low-income and mid-income countries, up to 85% of people with mental health conditions do not receive the care they need. In high-income countries, the treatment gap is still around 50%. Factors such as stigma, costs, and lack of resources can all contribute to the limited access of mental health care. See, again, people still have that stigma sometimes about mental health is like, but I'm like, I mean, just hearing these statistics, hearing these, from, very valuable companies that's looking at this, that is so highly important to be on the curb of this. So now what I want to do, I want to go.
Well, one thing I wanted to add, if I could, Barbara, too, is that, when we think about mental health or wellness, there is the common term that's PTSD. And a lot of people associated that with military personnel. But, after my last hospitalization, I learned that it extends to beyond just military personnel. And there are certain categories that go into that diagnosis that are precursors or triggers to that. And so some of those could be simply moving whether out of state or moving to a different house, uh, a addition to the family, a new baby, a change of schools, a change in your job, a death in the family, a change in any of the family dynamics. And, I realized at that point that there were times that many of my kids experienced maybe one, two, or three of those things at the same time. As our family grew, as, things changed for my husband or different things. And so now you pile on, the fear of the unknown with um, COVID and some of these other things. You have a lot of families that suffered from a lot of these changes. Sometimes you had family dynamics where, maybe a cousin couldn't make it on their own, so they moved in. So now you have extended family, all these different things can cause trauma. And so part of it is us thinking that we're just doing it just to survive, but not really even understanding that we're going through trauma. So we're not taking the time to deal with that trauma. So I just wanted to add that as well.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
I have something I'd like to add too that I didn't think of.
Okay.
I volunteer every day, and I take food to inbound seniors that can't get out of their home. And I've done it for the last 2 years, and COVID took a toll on a lot of my seniors. They just, some would just cry when I would come, just to see somebody that would come up or that would give them a hug or would touch them, or the emotion would just overflow. And me, I'm really emotional, so it didn't take much that I was crying with them, but they're so grateful now that somebody comes every day to bring them food, to see them, because a lot of their families are far, or their families wouldn't see them because they weren't vaccinated, or, there's millions of reasons. And the stories that I've heard due to, what happened during COVID and what happened to them during COVID, I should say. Yeah, that was really, really sad, because their mental health, a lot of them, was really bad when I started. It's much better now, and I'm really, really grateful that coming there with myself and the others that do make a difference. So that I just wanted to share that as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Queen Renee. Yeah, because it does make a difference. I mean, especially in the old folks home, they couldn't see anybody. I mean, especially during the heat of the COVID, and they couldn't see loved ones, they couldn't see family. They felt alone and depression. All that set in, and then when you just come as a volunteer, you know how big a smile that puts on their face to say, "Wow, somebody cares enough to come just for 10 minutes." I mean, you don't have to be that long, and they're happy. So I always tell people, don't have to take. Sometimes, short is just doing a little thing.
And one of the things that I found, I don't know why, I had a bunch of my seniors that loved spaghetti. A lot of them don't cook at all, right? Most of them didn't, or don't. But most of them really love spaghetti and meatballs in cans, and you couldn't find it. And I happened to like it too. It was something, if I was really busy and didn't have time to cook, I could pop open a can. Whenever I found extras, I would buy them and I would give them to the seniors. That they would be so full of joy and so grateful. Some of them even cried just to have a can of, extra couple cans of spaghetti and meatballs. I thought that was funny. Help their mental health, right? That's what I was there for. So
See?
Interesting.
All that counts. Sometimes you realize that you're doing the tips and different things for mental health. So now that that's the second part of the conversation, we're going right into it. So thank you, Renee. I want to start off with Barbara with this, because I know she has to leave a little early today. So Barbara, can you start off with us with some tips and things that you see in mental health, and then we'll go around the room.
One of the biggest things that I work with my clients and I find with other people around is that this what you talked about at the beginning is the stigma. They're afraid to reach out. And so one of the things that's like, if you're feeling like anxious or whatever that feeling is, and you're not handling it well, and it's coming out, and you're not handling it well because you're snapping at other people, you're not being as kind, and you're saying to yourself, what's wrong with me? Well, chances are it's an imbalance. Reach out to somebody and say, look at what can you help me with? And one of the things that I do is, we can't always be up and going and feeling great. And, we can't, where there are going to be times where we just feel down in the dumps and not quite sure why. But one of the things that you and I have talked about, Barb, is that for myself, I have a surprise playlist. And it is a playlist that's on my phone, and there's all different kinds of songs on it. Anything that I hear that strikes my fancy, I put it on my surprise playlist. Then every morning I hit shuffle. So they don't play in order. They never play in the same order. So let me tell you, so once in a while, I will go from listening to praise and worship to opera to Chubby Checker doing the twist. And see, and it lightens everybody. They smile when they hear it and they go, oh, that's a really good idea, because then it puts you automatically start to put movement into your body. And movement is so important for mental health. And so, yeah, that's one of the things that I learned to do it a couple of years ago. And it's like, and I still have my surprise playlist. And now I've shared it with several other people. And they go, oh, I'm going to get myself a surprise playlist. Because because everybody is different, because the kind of music that they like is so very different. But they can still have their own surprise playlist. And that has helped immensely.
I love it. I love how you named it surprise playlist, because, like you said, you don't know what's going to come on, and
you don't
whatever
know what's going to come on.
It might hit you in a certain area where you're like, "Oh, I needed that." Then
Mm-hmm.
you know, that helped me in that area at that time. Music always soothes me, no matter what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah. So thank you, Barbara. Like I said, I want to start with you because I know you have to go to another. Place.
We're doing a live Zoom party on hydration health. Why hydration is so important for your body and for mental health. It really does make a difference. If you're not feeling quite right, chances are you might be dehydrated.
Yes. See now we have some wonderful people coming in. Giving some love to American Superman too.
Yay.
He's seen you 3 times already today. You're still going. See? So thank you, Barbara, for sharing that about the surprise playlist. In fact, I started that after you told me on Tuesday when we talked about it. So I want to hear anybody, Dawn, Renee, American Superman, any tips or anything that you see that works for you, or something that you want to share with the audience.
For me, it's I think the power of prayer first. You know, when I feel that, because I'm very much down the rabbit hole, and I know that, and I tend to listen to a lot of different things from a lot of different areas to get the different information. But sometimes it really gets to me, and I have to just stop and just pray and just, Lord, help me take away this desire to be down the rabbit hole, first of all, because I'm always trying to find out, okay, what's happening. But also, it really does help lighten the load. And like Barbara said, for me, it's music. I have a guy on TikTok that I absolutely love. He plays classical piano and very soothing piano music. And I may put my radio on or pick some certain songs to listen to, but that to me at night, when I go to bed, I turn him on and I go to bed, and sometimes I can fall asleep just listening to that beautiful music, and it just really soothes my soul. And I think that's really good for people with any kind of problem, when they just know it's not, whatever's going on is not right, or they're not happy, or something's going on. That to me would be very soothing and helpful.
Yes, I love that you brought out, Renee, depending on people's beliefs, prayer, meditation, I know that helps. And then also, like you said, just the music again is real soothing. Listen to a favorite speaker that you love, somebody that's positivity needs to come into face. I know that's a tip that I would always tell people. So I don't want to tell some more of mine. I want to get to the other queens. So Dawn, do you have any tips or anything that you want to share that you deal with, or others deal with mental health?
Sure. There's 2 things actually, just quickly. Barbara had mentioned about moving your body. I would say dance. Put the music on full blast and dance like nobody's watching, because although it looks, you might think it looks really ridiculous, it absolutely gets that energy flowing through your body. I work a lot with energy, and it really gets the stuck energy moving and just lifts your mood and makes you feel a lot better. I do that very regularly now, probably a lot more than I've ever done. But the second thing would be expand your awareness of what's going on in your mind. So if you're feeling a little low, just sit back and take a few minutes to think about what you've been thinking about, what you've been saying, and what you've been doing, and seeing if there's anything that you can change, or you can flip round, or you can switch up a notch. you've got to be aware of what you're thinking, because everything starts with a thought, right? This is how we create. We start off with thoughts. Our thoughts, our words, our actions all create what we're going through. And if we're not happy with what we're receiving, we'll have to start back up here in the mind with the thoughts. So really that's where I try and steer my clients to.
Oh, those are some good tips, Queen Dawn. I love that. Wow. Yes. It's all about that mind, see?
It is indeed, yes.
It is. See, everybody, just if you just came on real quickly before we get to, I know American Superman has some things to say, and maybe some others again. You're looking at the Diamond Perspective Panel Live. We come on once a month on Thursdays, 6 o'clock Central Time. I'll bring on these wonderful ladies with the expertise in their lanes and just discuss different topics that we see that's really important to discuss and just get ideas. And sometimes we might not agree, and that's okay. You know, we're always not going to agree with everything. You know, I don't agree with not having ketchup on hot dogs. People tend to tell me they don't think that they think I'm crazy, but I still love them. So with that, just had a little humor there. Let's go to America Supermom. That helps too with mental health. Okay, America Supermom, give us some tips and ideas that you have, lady.
Well, mine is always to remember to smile. It's a smile check-in, and that's an acronym for 5 pillars that I think are important to make sure that we monitor for our mental wellness. And they are sleep, mood, inner voice, laughter, and energy. So, just recalling my own journey, those areas were always at a deficit for me. I was running on empty, burning the candle at all ends, let alone both ends. It was everywhere. And so checking in and monitoring some of these areas, how long have you been in a bad mood? A couple days is understandable, but if it's going on for an extended amount of time, that's something to check into. Also, it's a good way to kind of start a conversation with somebody else who you think might not be in a good space, asking them, how much sleep have you gotten? Just something that you can lightly start opening the conversation for them to start examining some of the things that they're doing in their daily routine that they could start changing. So remembering to smile. It's mine.
I always love when you bring that acronym up. Always, I do. I got the book. I still have the book you sent me, the journal with having that acronym in there. It's powerful, everybody. It's really powerful. You know what? One thing I want to mention, and then I want everybody to do a wrap up of whatever else they have to talk about mental health, and then we'll get to contacts for everybody. But you mentioned something, America Suman. We hear this a lot. And before I thought it was like, ooh, that's cool, but it's not. When we hear burning the candle at both ends. Long time ago, I thought that was cool because I thought I was just jamming, just working my thing and getting my business together and getting things going. And then find out I was burning myself out. So it turned from that. Oh, I thought it was positive because everybody would say it. See, that's another thing you got to make sure. Just because everybody's saying it doesn't mean it's always like the right. So just to give a little thought on that, when you're burning think about it. I mean, just think of the picture of the candle burning at both ends. Does that even make sense? Just thinking of the description of that, does that make sense? So why would you want to do that in your life like that? So I just wanted to bring that out, and I'm glad that you mentioned that because you hear that a lot.
And I'm glad you brought that up because, the whole thing, again, like you said, if everybody says it, I believe that when I hear things now, and this is something I've just recently started doing within like the past 6 months, is putting a question mark behind it to recognize, is this really factual or is this somebody's opinion? So if we, I have been one to just take quotes and think, oh yeah, that sounds good. And you begin to try to practice it without always thinking, because you could be hyped up in an environment and everything sounds like it's good. But then later on, taking that time to reflect. So I tell people now, always whenever you hear something, put a question mark behind it and do a little research on your own. Does this even serve me? Is this factual or is this somebody's opinion? Because you can steer yourself down the wrong road quickly believing that things are factual when it's just somebody else's opinion.
Yeah. Or it's been said so long that you're so used to hearing it from like your mothers or whatever generation and stuff, and then come to find out the real reason why it was stated, you're like, this is not even irrelevant to what we're doing in this day and age. So with that, I want to just do a quick wrap up with everybody because I want you to say anything else that comes to your mind within 30 seconds. And then I want you to tell everybody how they can contact you. Again, because I know with time and everything, we're going to wrap it up. I'll start with Barbara and then go around the room.
Yeah, just I loved what Dawn said about being aware. Just be and just of hearing about what are you feeling, and if it's more than 2 days worth and you're feeling in a bad mood, just what's going on under the surface of you? What's going on under the surface? And lots of times when you can just sit down and take a few minutes, it will come to you. And sometimes it could be something from as far back as your childhood.
Yes.
And it's now coming to surface as an adult. So don't be afraid of it and yet be aware of it. The best place to reach me is on LinkedIn, Barbara Ellison, and I am the midlife mentor and of the Wellness Playroom.
I love the Wellness Playroom. Thank you, Barbara, for sharing your knowledge and your expertise. And contact her and LinkedIn.
Thank you.
Gotta go. So thank you, Barbara, again. So our next person, give us 30 seconds. Anything else you want to share regarding the mental health and then how they can contact you? I'll go with Renee.
Yeah, there's one thing I wanted to add was laughter. She touched on it, America's Supermom, I believe, but that's something that's really important. Go watch a funny movie or a comedy or something to make you laugh. That's really important. As far as contacting me, my name is Renee Bubetz, and you can reach me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I'm pretty much on all of them. So just give me a holler, and I would love to have a conversation. Thank you so much, Barbara. I really appreciate it. And all you queens, you always have amazing, fantastic advice.
Oh, you're so sweet. I love you all. I got to give you a word for that. Okay. Oh. So let's go to Miss Dawn, lady.
Sure. I would just say that if you have been feeling down for like a few days or more, consider asking for help, and consider asking for help outside of your family and friend circle. Basically, because your family and friends are they're very close to you and they see what's going on. And if you get some help from somebody outside, they're very, very impartial, and they can see they can look deeper and see what's going on without understanding what you're actually going through, because they're involved in it. So my name is Dawn Livingston. I'm an Ascension coach. You can get me on linktree.com/voyage of transcendence or on dawnlivingston.com.
Thank you, Queen. It's so nice for your first time, and hopefully
thank you.
Lovely
Absolutely.
advice. Lovely advice. And then next, Miss America Supermom.
Well, again, thank you so much, Barbara, for having me. And, these are great words. I have some notes that I've been writing. I think, don't isolate yourself would be what I would say. A lot of times we kind of get in our own shell. We start making the monster bigger than what it is in our head. And so always remembering to get with a support group, friends or family members, whoever that you can gradually get yourself out of that mind trap, is what I call it. So I think that's important. The second thing is just having conversations with people. I find that when I open up to other people or simply ask them questions, I'm always learning and hearing a different perspective that helps me to realize how much gratitude that I actually can have. And then the third thing that Paul mentioned as well is writing. Writing is so important because, again, you're making a monster out of something that's so tiny, when it's in your head jumbled up with a whole bunch of other things. But when you write stuff down, you're able to observe it and say, this is really not that big, or this is obtainable. But if you're busy going back from one thought to the next, you're not really conscious of how big or little something is. So writing is also important. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, and I do have an audio room with Paul, and I believe that self-development is also a thing to do. So Paul and I have an audio room on LinkedIn on Thursday mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So again, thank you, Barbara, for having me, and it's been a pleasure. And Dawn, I could listen to you talking all day. I love hearing other people's accents. So
I've never heard that before. Been a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I do too. I'm like you. I love the accent too. It's beautiful. But with that, and it's beautiful what you told us too, Dawn, as well. And you too, Queen Renee, America's Supermodel, Michelle, and Barbara. I know she had to get off, but I just want to just sum it up by saying, again, mental health is real. Do the check-ins. That's my thing, because everybody gave so much good wisdom and golden nuggets, and I don't want you to forget all that. The only thing I want to leave you with is just understand that it's no problem in your mind. Don't say it's a problem asking for help, reaching out, talking to that person that you can trust. Because believe me, if you're reaching out, somebody else is going to be reaching out too, because we all are dealing with something in our lives. So don't feel like you're alone, and don't feel like you're a bad person if you feel like you need to reach out. Because I always tell people it's better to reach out and get the help than not to do it and then use what's in you that's a diamond in you, as I always tell all the ladies and men, and then let it go to naught because you didn't get the help that you needed. Because you're not only helping yourself to get better, but all the people that need to connect with you won't be able to connect with you because you have to deal with you. So think about it like that. You don't want to pass nobody else up because of the things that you have inside of you that they need from you. So with that said, do those check-ins. It don't take long. You can do it on a messenger or whatever. People feel like they got to get on the phone and talk. Sometimes if you don't have the time, do hey, what's up? Send a smiley face, send a joke, send a quote, whatever. But do the check-in and look for those signs of people, especially the ones that you really know closely. You know that they're all happy and whatever, and all of a sudden if you don't see them no more, or if you don't hear from them no more, or if you don't see they're not calling you, they're not talking to you, or they're talking real straightforward or whatever, just give you some clues that should tell you a clue that, okay, something is not right with this. So with that said, and if they're burning the candle in two spots, that's totally wrong. And if they like hot dog with ketchup, they're okay. But besides that, we'll see everybody next month for June. We'll have a wonderful topic with these wonderful queens. You never know which queens will come on, but whatever you will get a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge from them, a lot of expertise, because that's what we're here about, to help not only each other here in this community, but to people that's out there in the world. You take care, and I wish everybody a wonderful, peaceful, loving month of May. And remember, do that reach out to help the other person that's in need. Take care.